Technology. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday. I'm really excited for Friday because it's Futuristic Friday. Welcome to the International Women of Blockchain event hosted by Black Women Blockchain Council and our wonderful moderators and our committee members. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. It is Friday. It's Futuristic Friday. Today, we are going into the metaverse. We're going to have fantastic things for you to experience, as well as great discussions about the metaverse. But first, a recap. This week was impactful. We had, starting from Monday, Mind Your Business Monday with Nigel Roberts, where we got to be introduced to cryptocurrencies. And we learned a lot about the different cryptocurrencies that are out there and had a thorough discussion about the future of these cryptocurrencies. We now know that, in the US, there is a bill, an executive order was recently passed, which basically gave favoritism towards cryptocurrencies and the involvement of regulatory bodies in this particular ecosystem. I say favoritism because the bill actually was not that negative. It's when I say that negative is because, in essence, this is a decentralized space that we're trying to create. However, we have entities, that wants to come in and also try to regulate. So it's in the part of the communities all across the globe to get involved and make sure that the right and the proper regulations are in place. Because as we know, this space is allowing everyone to participate. And we do not want to bring the same type of restrictions that were in our regular life into this ecosystem that we're building. On Tuesday, we had NF Tuesday, which is Non-Fungible Tuesday. Non-Fungible Tuesday, we got a chance to celebrate International Women's Day, as well as get to hear from various women across the globe about their NFT projects. We got some really great insights, some wonderful touching stories, and it was across the globe. We had people from Chile, we had people from Africa. We touched everywhere, and I'm so happy. On Wednesday, it was Worldwide Wednesday, where we touched on impactful topics about world Web3. It's very important for us to stay tuned and tap in to what's being created. And also there are opportunities out there. So we got to talk to Lacey, who's running a resume, a Web3 resume platform that helps you improve your resumes in order to prepare you for the Web3 space that we're creating. Isn't that wonderful? Oh my God, that was fantastic. She gave us some pointers. We walked away with some tips, and we walked away with opportunities that we didn't know was out there. There's so many different Web3 jobs, and it's across all types of industries, which is fantastic. On Thursday, we actually had table talks. We got to sit down and talk to individuals who are building and creating, which was fantastic. And now we're bringing you back to Friday, which is Futuristic Friday. And you're going to have some metaverse experiences. First, you're going to learn the first steps of virtual reality, which is great because I know a lot of people need that, especially since adult and younger kids are jumping into VR. And it's important for us to have that basic first step so that we won't be surprised when we put on our headgear or maybe even travel through 2D. Tomorrow, we are going to have Super Sponsor Saturday, where we are going to have an individual, a speaker, come to us and talk about marketing and PR, which is very important. I'm excited about that. It's long awaited. I know you guys are tapped in and you're ready for that too. And then Sunday, definitely Sunday, we get to rest, right? Sunday is all about self-care. We are going to have a program about self-care. There's a wonderful lady who's going to come on board and teach us all about yoga. And then she also has her own yoga project here in the ecosystem, as well as a DAO, which is fantastic. So you're going to know a lot more about that. And now I'm going to pass it on to NiKole. NiKole, are you ready? Good morning.
Hi, yes, I am here. I am ready. Good morning, everybody. I'm NiKole Maxwell. Happy to be here.
Awesome. I know you're going to take us through an experience, and I can't wait for that. For those people who don't know what Futuristic Fridays is, please let them know.
Futuristic Fridays is all about the metaverse. It is where we jump in and we do an introduction to the metaverse and talk about all the topics of the metaverse. So every week we're going to take a layered approach in getting us into the metaverse so that we as women are ready to operate and maneuver and to do it successfully. The metaverse is not here yet, but it is being built. And that is something that, we definitely need to be a part of. And so I want people to understand that there's more out here than what you're seeing and, kind of just get you prepared for what you need to know. So that's what we are doing today and every day throughout the month of March on Fridays.
Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break and then we'll be right back.
And we are back. Welcome to Futuristic Fridays in the Metaverse. So last week we covered a very basic understanding of what the metaverse is. This week, we're actually going to take a look at a couple of different metaverses around the world, what people are building and what the concepts are out there for now. I have a couple of things lined up today. We are going to actually walk through what it looks like to actually get your VR headset and take your first steps into a VR simulated metaverse of sorts. And then we're also going to hear from Brianna Faye, who is going to talk to us all about AR and VR and her experiences in the metaverse. So I'm really excited about that. And at the end of the day, we are going to have a panel discussion, just open discussion with girls and girl talk about what we're expecting in the metaverse. So as I kind of said before, the metaverse is not here yet. We are not at a place where it's been built. There are different theories out there. We talked about that last week. One theory says there is only one metaverse, and others say there are metaverses. And yet even more say there is a metaverse and there are worlds or metaverses within that world, that metaverse. So it's the theory of the capital M metaverse, which is the interconnectivity of it all, and the lowercase m, which is your version of the metaverse or the experience that you are in at the moment, such as Decentralized, such as CryptoVoxels and Roblox. Those are the names you hear all the time. So we're going to try to expose you to some things that are out there that are a little bit different. No matter what we're talking about, there is also a conversation that's going on about what the metaverse should be. We are in the International Women of Blockchain Conference, and that means that we're talking about the metaverse and whether it's going to be centralized or decentralized. The centralized version of the metaverse is out there. It is somewhere where people can go and have fun, and all the businesses reap all the rewards for taking your data. But there is also a decentralized metaverse, and that metaverse operates on the blockchain. That metaverse encompasses cryptocurrency. It encompasses NFTs, virtual real estate, and DAOs and dApps and everything else that we have to offer on the blockchain. All of that is in the metaverse, and all of that is a part of Web3. We are very rapidly approaching the space where people are going to know what the metaverse is. And it is important to know that you have a choice. That choice is something that you will make on a daily basis. It is a choice that you make in just your daily decisions. What are you feeding your mind? What are you really getting serious about? And at the core of it all is your data. Your data. So as I'm sitting here right now, this camera is recording me, and this camera is noticing how I move. It's noticing how I talk. It's noticing when I decide to pause or inflect. And then there's software out there that can go and analyze that data. That data can then be used to determine how to communicate back to me. It will know how to effectively interest me in something, or how to effectively target me for the next campaign or ad run that is something that wants to be done. It's really important that we understand that data is the number one commodity right now. It has been number one since 2020. That hasn't changed. Data is the number one commodity. And so that means that people are trading your data left and right. And I don't recall anyone asking me or giving me a 1099 or anything for the use of my data. I don't recall me getting any kind of benefits from the use of my data. But I do know that people are getting rich off of me transacting on the internet. So what does that look like? What can it look like? What are the possibilities? That's what we're exploring, and that's what it's important for us to build as we move forward in the future of the metaverse. So today, I have two options for you, or I have two experiences for you. The first is going to be an experience that launched, and we're all about women here in the International Women of Blockchain. So this actually launched a couple of weeks ago, or actually a week ago, and this is called BWBC, and BWBC is by HTC. And the video that I'm going to show you is an example of what the metaverse can be. So we're going to pull that up here. Just give me just a second. And we are going to share that with you so that you can discover BWBC and the option of this type of metaverse.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. From the beginning at HTC, our Vive Reality vision has been to merge technology with humanity to unleash imagination. We recognize even then that Vive Reality will herald a new industrial and cultural revolution. 4 years ago at MWC, we said that the technologies to drive our Vive vision would be VR, AR, AI, blockchain, and high-speed connectivity like 5G. These are technologies we should continue to innovate to carry us forward. This time at the MWC, we are demonstrating our new 5G RAN series products. Our vision is a world where technology fades to the background and experiences come to the forefront, where we can push the boundaries of our creativity and also collaborate, play, learn, and dream. We call this Viveverse, which is our version of the metaverse, an immersive boundless universe of fantastic new experiences and a seamless gateway to other universes in collaboration with our partners. It's an open platform created by the people, owned by the people, and shared by the people. Vive is our brand, which means life, and verse represents the chapters of life. So Viveverse enables us to create many new great memories and encourages us to truly cherish our lives. Life in Viveverse solves the physical limitation of time and space. There's nothing better than a real story. So let me tell you about a friend and colleague, Pearly Chen. She has worked with me for 10 years, and I've watched her grow into an accomplished executive and a mother of 3. I've often marveled at her energy to juggle all her responsibilities. She has created a healthy balance of real life and virtual by fully leveraging Viveverse. She starts every day with guided meditation on a majestic glacier in Iceland. She has hiked that glacier 3 times in real world and revisiting it in her bedroom Every morning is a source of calm and inspiration before the children wake up. The real-life version is better, but the Viveverse version is far more accessible and easy to enjoy with friends and loved ones. Rejuvenated and ready to start the day, she took a quick stroll around the photorealistic Prague in her unique, fully decentralized avatar and headed to the Mucha Museum, where she bought a digital collectible NFT of a classic work by Alphonse Mucha on the Vive Arts NFT marketplace, adding to her growing digital art collection. While walking around the museum, a popular song of a Taiwanese band kept playing in her head, so she booked tickets for their live concert next week on Big Day, which will be volumetrically captured, an epic experience for her and her good friends from different corners of the world. After breakfast with her family, her school-age children went on a virtual trip in Paris to visit the Louvre. One of them visited with us in real life in 2019 when we launched the Mona Lisa VR experience. But today, all three of them get to go without stepping onto the airplane. Pearl enjoyed her life experience as a student in Paris, and in Viveverse, her kids can too. Learning to speak French is also much easier in virtual gamified Twin Paris, and the avatar residents are always happy to strike up a conversation. All their learning achievements unlock new skills and help them upgrade their avatars and access new experiences. Pearl completed her leadership skill training quickly with an AI-powered virtual human intel spin, proving the finding of PWC that people training in VR are 4 times faster and more focused than in more traditional settings. Then she joined her team at our virtual campus to collaborate on an upcoming customer presentation. The shared presence and intuitive 3D design tools make creative collaboration such a productive experience. She was delighted by the team's collective flow and sure it will impress the customer. During lunchtime, she joined the board meeting of a portfolio company, which they set on a virtual tropical island, where she was excited to see the progress of patients using companies' pain management and physical therapies at home with personalized clinician guidance, much more effective for clinical outcomes and more enjoyable. Inspired by higher levels of engagement, ownership, and inclusion, she dived into her focused work in her private virtual office, which seamlessly switches into a lo-fi environment when she needs a break. After work, she joined her parents, who live 9,000 miles away, on a virtual expedition to Antarctica, the real-world version of which remains out of reach for most people. Her children tag along from the poolside where they just finished their swimming practice, and together they follow the guide of a previously unvisited colony of imperial penguins, while learning about the effect of climate change on their diminishing habitat. What a day! She's accomplished so much beyond hitting her goals at work, and she also created incredible memories with her colleagues and loved ones, while not losing sight of her self-care. In another Viveverse universe, a team of surgeons are collaborating on a complex surgery to separate a pair of conjoined twins. They are powered by advanced 3D visualization tools that go far beyond their visual limitations. Medical students observe around the world. This is an extremely rare operation, and being there in the room, even if virtually, is an invaluable experience. Elsewhere, scientists are accelerating drug discovery using immersive and collaborative modeling tools. And artists are building worlds unbounded by any real-world limitations, thanks to the abundance of ideas, resources, and scalability in Viveverse. At the end of the day, every wonder in Viveverse intensifies. our real-life experience. They augment our appreciation of our physical world for our collective humanity and for the people that matter most in this beautiful existence of life. And we can create these incredible memories without leaving home. This spares our planet from countless tons of carbon emission, as well as giving us so much more time to spend with our loved ones in the real world. This is the gift of infinite time, infinite space, and infinite love in Viverse. Of course, our award-winning VR products are the best platform to step into Viverse, but Viverse will strive to be accessible to anyone from any online device through our Vive Connect tool. Over the past 7 years, we have collaborated with thousands of content developers to build Viverse ecosystem, a shared resource and community to catalyze open standards such as OpenXR and VRM for avatars, and to forge a fully transparent path to governance, economy, privacy, and security. We have created various new tools such as Vibe Bytes to help our partners build their own universe and ensure smooth transition between content worlds. We stand ready today to embrace all our content and enterprise partners in creating this great new world. Together, we can act fast to deliver the very best of this remarkable technology. It is our responsibility as an industry to accelerate the good and make the metaverse a positive, beneficial experience for everyone. Join us. Thank you very much.
Wow. So that is Viverse by HTC. And it is a different way of looking at what could potentially be the metaverse and a way that we interact and engage with the metaverse. I saw inclusivity. I saw creativity. I saw elements of the blockchain like NFTs. And I also saw cryptocurrency. But I also saw variations of how we access the metaverse. So there were different headsets. HTC has a whole assortment of headsets that are available. Whether you want an augmented reality experience or a virtual reality experience. I'm going to explain those because, some of you guys might not have been watching last week. Augmented reality is where you can take your reality that you're sitting in, right? So your real world that you're sitting in right now and augment it. You can change it. You can filter it or make it different. A virtual reality experience is where you actually have an immersive experience. So I'm in my headset and I'm moving around as this thing inside of my headset. That's what we're going to explore next. We have a guest coming up who is going to also talk to us a little bit about the differences between AR and VR. And I'm sure that presentation is going to be fascinating, but I want you to dip your toes into the metaverse. And so that is what we are going to do next, is have a VR experience. I do want to let you know that there will be some spoilers. So if you are someone who does not like spoilers and you don't want to taint your first introduction to the metaverse or to a VR experience, and you have intention of getting an Oculus Quest 2, please go ahead and skip over the next 30 minutes and come back at 10 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to dive in and actually do the first steps introduction into your virtual reality headset. I need a few minutes to get set up, but when you see me next, I will have on my VR headset, which looks like this. It is plugged into my computer so that I can retain battery power and charge, because it does take up quite a bit of battery. And then I also have controllers. I'm trying to get that in the window. So I also have what we call controllers. So my hands go around this controller just like this. and it sits here and it's pretty comfortable. And inside of that, we have some buttons and a joystick. Okay. So each one, I have 2 of them. They look the same. One is for my left hand, one is for my right hand. These things are battery powered. So if you're looking at getting a headset, you need to know that the battery goes fast on these bad boys. But so does the battery on my headset. Inside of my headset are 2 eyes, 2 glasses. Okay, so you're going to see the inside of that headset. I'm going to put my head in there. You can update and change the viewports on there so that it's comfortable for you and your eyesight. Some things you need to know about VR. When you first get in, you need to acclimate. Everybody's different. My acclimation was like 5 seconds. I was cool. But other people, they experience nausea. Some other people experience dizziness. You need to be cautious, take things slow, and know that usually they pass. You have settings in your VR headset that you can update and change and help toggle a little bit that will make you feel a little bit more at ease. You also are able to adjust the experience that you're in. So last week we spoke about alt space. When I was in alt, or when Artsy's in alt space, or when I'm in alt space, or when any of us are in alt space, you have the ability to adjust the settings on your headset in that experience, for that experience, because they're not all created equal, right? So those are some things you need to know about your first steps at the point of unboxing. You're going to need to go through setup. That setup requires you to toggle between your initial view. So you're going to be in here and you're going to be working either on your computer or your phone quite a bit for the first 10-15 minutes of setting it up, because you have to get, kind of, it's like syncing a passport on like Microsoft or Google. You have to sync it like when you get a new TV for Amazon, that same syncing process. So when you got to type in the code, well, with this, you have to go and actually find a browser. So that browser is not going to be inside the headset. This provides me most times with an immersive experience. So when I'm in here, I can't see in front of me to a point. I also can see, what I am seeing is a screen that's being depicted that shows me the full 360. So I can look up and I'm in that experience, and I can look down and all around and I'm in that experience. I'm actually there. So whether like they showed on the video, like you're walking through Paris or Morocco, or you're doing an African safari, you are actually feeling like you're there. You hear the sounds, and you sometimes they can set it up in such a way where it actually feels like you're in this space. VR headsets are great for gaming. So I have several games that I do. I am definitely a gamer, and so there are some games that are out there that are really, really fun. Others that are trying something new. And I think the one thing that you need to know about VR is that you are here and you're able to extend your reality. So whatever you actually want to do, you can recreate in a VR space. And when I say that, I mean, you can have what I call a meta mind shift, right? So get outside of the 4 walls that you're in. Right now, I'm looking at my office and I see I'm enclosed by my office. There's 3 walls, but I'm still enclosed by my office, right? Inside of my home. I don't like that. I want to utilize the metaverse and utilize these experiences to the fullness of their potential. So when I build, or when I have things built for myself, they're always out in outer space, because I can't actually do that in real life. I try to do things that are pushing me to a new limit. So some people, like you saw in the video, go out and they climb mountains, or they go on safaris. They do things they can't actually do. So it's a great way to travel. And a lot more affordable than actually traveling. And, over these last 2 years, it's been a lot more feasible to actually travel, right? So you can feel like you're somewhere, or you can feel like you're having a getaway or a vacation, and not actually be doing it. and having to go through kind of the hassle of doing that, bringing everybody together and buying tickets and making sure that, you travel within certain time frames and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about that. I can decide tomorrow that I want to go to Italy and jump in and find a VR experience that will let me do that. So those are the kind of things that we can do. But you also saw that technology is taking us to a whole new place. So VR is great for training. We talk about firefighters. When I was growing up, my grandmother's house was right up the street from one of the firefighter training facilities. And every summer, they would set the firehouse on fire, and the fire folks would go in and try to rescue the dummies out of the building. And that was their training. In VR, you could simulate that. So you would not have to put people actually at risk. Think about that for things like doctors and doctors and EMTs and people who are out here putting themselves at risk. They can get actual training without having to use things like cadavers or operating in some instances on live humans, so test runs and trials and things like that can get a lot more beneficial. Hopefully we will have a guest speaker in the coming weeks who actually has been doing things like that in the medical profession over the last, almost 10 years now. So she's been building 3D virtual experiences, and she talks to us all the time about those. And I am really excited to bring her to the stage as well. So stay tuned for that in the coming weeks. But for now, we are going to take a really quick intro or quick intermission, and then I'm going to meet you back here in my headset. All right. And we're going to take our first steps into the Oculus VR headset. All right, guys, we are back. I'm going to put my little self over here so you can see me. All right, so I'm going to ask my mod squad if you guys are having issues of any kind. Please come up and tell me because I cannot see. And I just want to make sure that you're able to see my screen. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going. All right, guys. So we are here in my Oculus Quest headset. This is the Oculus Quest 2. This is my main menu, and we are going to go through first steps. But before we do that, I do want to just take just a second to show you where I am. And so right now, I'm in what we call my home hub. And I am in a space where I actually am sitting in my chair in my office. So if you can see me on my camera, I'm sitting here and I'm kind of moving my hands. So in the screen, in the large screen, you should be able to see my hands. So I'm holding my controllers right now in my hand. And so this is what it looks like. You should be able to see my hands. If not, you should be able to see my controllers. Okay. Here, I'm just going to rotate a little bit. So I'm turning around. I'm not actually doing this. So I guess I could actually do it. So let me spin around really quick in my chair. And you will see that I do have, kind of this whole little area. You can see stuff flying around about there. I'm all about space. So when I'm in these spaces, I'm all about space. I like space. So I chose the environment that I like. And so for me, the space station is where it's at. I like my digs. It looks really cool here. And so every time I jump into my VR headset, I'm teleported to another world. It feels like, right? So this is what I like to experience. You may choose something different. So what's that something different that you could choose? Let's look. You have a couple of different options available to you. And let me find them. And they are going to be under, no. They updated the settings here, so let me find it really quick. There we go. Personalization, of course, that's where it is. All right, so you can have a couple of different experiences here. So I'm going to change this, and we're going to go with the Desert Terrace. So as soon as I click that, I've already downloaded this before. So, you have to download them the first time, and they come straight to you, and you can see that like you have this whole different experience. So now when I turn around, I'm in my Desert Terrace home. And there is an update coming that allows you to actually move around a little bit in here. And I don't have that update yet, but I know that it is on the way. But you can see, like, I can look down. I'm looking at a rug. If I look up, and I'm going to try to go slow so that's not dizzy. That's not going to make anybody dizzy. If I look up, I see the fullness thereof. There's the moon up there. Okay, so you have these different experiences. There's a ton of different experiences. We don't have time to kind of go through all of them today, but I am going to take you through first steps. And so first steps in your VR headset is one of the first things that you should do. And so hopefully you can hear this. And I am going to try to show you as much as I can of this really cool world that's being built all around me as I stand here. Cool.
Welcome to Oculus. After this tutorial, you'll be ready to explore. It's time to learn about your Oculus Touch controllers. Now, try pressing all of the glowing buttons with your thumbs.
So they're saying glowing buttons. So I'm looking at my controllers and I can see that with this hand, my left hand, I need to press the top button. And I'm feeling feedback when I do that. And now the bottom buttons are glowing.
Try moving the thumbsticks around.
These are your joysticks. They're calling them thumbsticks.
Like buttons.
You can click
Press
them.
them in until you feel them click. Next, use your index fingers to squeeze the triggers on your controllers. Locate the grip buttons and squeeze them with your middle fingers. Now let's see what your virtual hand can do.
So I feel it, right? Like I feel that vibration.
To make a fist, squeeze the grip with your middle finger and hold it down. To point, keep squeezing the grip and just lift your index finger. Now use your index finger to push the button in front of you. To pick up an object, squeeze and hold the grip button with your middle finger. Try reaching out and grabbing one of these blocks.
So it's important to know that I've already done this. So I'm sitting down. I know what's coming, so it's not a huge deal. When you first do this for the first time, you're probably going to be standing up. We're not doing that because I need to be able to show you what we're doing. So I'm literally holding this in my hand, but I'm holding on to my controller. I can feel it vibrating right now. And so if I let it go with my controller, it's going to
Your
drop.
virtual hands can do just about anything. Go ahead.
Ooh.
Play some of these items.
So now we've got some toys, and this is always fun. I love this part. So I can pick up this airplane. And I'm holding an airplane, but if you're looking at like my little self in the lower right or left-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see that like I'm just holding my controller in the air, but on screen, I'm actually holding an airplane. And so it wants me to go ahead and test. And we got a ball. And that's not what you're supposed to do with that ball, but that's all right. We've got a paddle and a ball, right? So I'm gonna try to, all right, so once it's satisfied that I've done this all, it's gonna.
Looks like you're getting the hang of it. Here's a few more to try.
There we go. All right, so this is my favorite. I was a tetherball queen when I was little. So we're going to go ahead and do tetherball in just a minute. But first, rockets, because rockets. So, oops. That's not how you do that. And if you look at me, I'm looking all the way around. I'm turning all the way around. Oh my God. Wait, no, hold up. That's not what's supposed to happen. That rocket is not supposed to come back to me like that. That was a boomerang rocket. Okay, so you can squeeze the controller to drive the blimp. I have a blimp right in front of me. So I'm holding down my index finger and I'm kind of navigating or trying to navigate the blimp. There we go. So this is kind of like drone control here, but there we go. Cool. Okay, and now tetherball. So you have to make a fist to hit this. So this is my fist. I'm holding on to my controller. I'm hoping you guys can still see me in frame. But like, that's tetherball, right? Tetherball queen.
When you're ready to explore some new VR worlds, insert a cartridge into the console.
So now it takes me through. So this is how you get acclimated to interacting with things in metaverses, right? So they've done a really good job of telling you how to pick things up and put them down. Every VR experience, though, is going to be a little bit different. So you're going to have like your own, each one will have its own set of instructions and potentially its own types of control. Now we're going to go and be teleported to another world or another flavor of this world. So we're still in introduction. We're still learning how to use this, but now we're going to talk about gaming. So gaming is a huge part of VR. It is kind of, to me, the backbone of the metaverse. This is where we started. If you're a gamer, you've already been here. You already know how to do this stuff. So this is, again, teaching you how to use the platform. So it is going to tell you how to press a button. So I'm pressing a button, and in front of me is a gun. And so I can now, you can see your laser points, and it's like, okay. So you have a little bit of fun, right? And it's basically showing you it's helping you get acclimated to pointing and clicking and shooting things, right? I'm sitting down, so I can't see it. All right. So that's cool. But we also have dual guns, right? So you want to fight in a dual way, you can do that. And maybe I'm terrible at this because I'm on screen, but I guarantee I'm not. All right. We're gonna go ahead and drop those, and we're gonna exit. There's a couple more scenarios there, but I think you get the idea that games in the metaverse or in a VR experience can be really
insert
fun.
the cartridge into the console.
So next up, we're gonna hang out. And we're going to go and hang out with my friend here. And I hope I don't actually have to stand up for this one, but we'll see. All right, so now we're in a whole nother experience. And we're looking up and looking down. All around us, we're encompassed in this place. Like, I can't see the conference screen. I can't see anything. What I can see is this little dock in front of me and these little nodes around me. And so because I already know what to do, it says insert both plugs. I'm gonna insert this, I reach up and grab it, and that gets built around me. And then I have to reach up and grab that one, and it gets built around me. And now something's happening. Oh, well, hello. Hi. First contact. We're shaking hands, and you shake it to dance. My hand is vibrating. Now we're gonna dance. Let's do it. So it wants me to move my hands. I'm moving my hands. Oh, okay. Get down low. Come on. Hey. This is awkward. I don't know you like this. So let's spin my partner. Okay, so we're gonna. Spin, baby, spin. Freestyle finish. Hey. Wow. Good job. Yay. And so we can dance again. But I'm not going to. So, okay, come on. Where'd he go? All right, we're going to actually head out, guys. So, all right.
When you're ready to leave this tutorial, insert the exit cartridge.
All right, so we are going to insert the exit cartridge.
You've got the basics down. Time to explore all that VR has to offer. Have fun.
All right, so that is first steps in your VR headset. Now remember, guys, VR, when you're talking about VR, that is just one way to access the metaverse. You can also access the metaverse right now freely in a browser. There are many different experiences that will allow you to do that, as well as experiencing an augmented a VR or a metaverse experience. One thing that's really important to know is that we're not quite there yet, right? Like, we are building the metaverse. It is important that we as women speak up and ask for the things that we want to be present in the metaverse, whether that is extra protections, whether that's extra spam filters, parental restrictions. Those things matter in the metaverse. So we're going to be talking about all of that and continuing to explore this thing that we're calling the metaverse that is being built all around us. The money's definitely here, but are the ideas? Is the diversity? That is something that we absolutely need to take seriously as we move forward with the building of the metaverse. So I am going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to come up and we'll talk with Corey and Yinka about what they just saw. I want to get first reactions from them, and then we'll be heading right into Brianna Faye, who is going to come and talk to us a little bit about AR and VR. This is NiKole, and my voice is resting. Thank you, guys.
Wow. All I can say is wow. What an experience. As someone that doesn't have a headset yet, I'm realizing that I'm missing a whole lot, right? I honestly can't wait for the HTC experience with Vivaverse. I think that's fantastic. I think that's really how I imagine, the whole metaverse to be. So I can't wait to dive into that and really experience it. And it seems like you can still connect with people, that there's still that, human connection going on and experiences that, in the physical world we're used to, but now it's in a virtual world. And I'm thinking that's fantastic.
Yeah. What do you think, Corey?
Just wow. And also a little bit of shame and guilt because I begged my wife to get me an Oculus 2 for my birthday, which was in January. She got it. I took it out of the box like 3 weeks ago to plug it in and haven't touched it since. So I don't know what my hesitancy has been, but after that demonstration, I have got to after we get out of here, I'm definitely going to put it on and go in there and play around because there's absolutely no excuse. I have the headset.
It's funny because I always tell people, when you get your headset, definitely use it as soon as you get it.
Yeah.
And that's not it's not unheard of. A lot of people are doing that. They get it and they get all excited about it, and then they get it and they pop it over into a corner somewhere. The reason you want to use it when you first get it is because hopefully you're getting it from a reputable place. So like one of the major stores, an Amazon, a Target, or not Amazon, a Target, a Walmart, somewhere where you can go and acquire it, Best Buy, because you want to make sure that you're getting a brand new one that has not been altered in any kind of way. And you get the power of that return policy, right? So remember what I talked about at the beginning, how people have kind of this moment of acclimation. If you don't get over that, if you continue to be sick, return it. There's nothing saying that you have to have a headset, at least right now. Our worlds are still being built out. It's definitely great if you do, because you're able to experience it and you'll know what it was like here early on in this space. But there's nothing that comes before your health and your well-being. So take a moment, try it out. If you don't like it, it's not for you, go get your money back. Those things are expensive. So
they are.
And speaking a little bit about the cost. So right now, I think the Oculus Quest 2 is at the low price point, right? So it's around that $300, $400 price range. But headsets can get very, very pricey. So there are some that are upwards of $7,000 and beyond. When you start getting into some of the gadgets that go with our headsets, you also have things like haptic gloves. You have these treadmills that you can be on that give you real full 360. You get legs in the metaverse. And those things are hefty on the price tag. So, you have a variety of different things that are available to you. So definitely do your research, search Google for top headsets, and then look at the comparisons between them, what you get, what systems they're operating on. Sony has one coming out, the PSVR 2. I'm excited about that for so many reasons, but also I don't have a PS5, so I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to take advantage. There's many, many, many things out there that can suit your niche. I will be upgrading to a different headset as soon as one comes out, because I would rather be with a different brand. But for now, this is my gateway. This is an entry point, and I'm utilizing it for that fact. I offer tours of the metaverse. I offer education on the metaverse. So if you want to have some training on how to use your VR headset, those are things I actually do offer as a part of my business. So you can reach me at Meta Mindshift, just schedule an appointment, and I will help out anybody who wants to have a better experience in VR, because it's important to me that you're enjoying this. And if that you aren't, then, at least you know what your criteria is for future products that maybe you want to help develop. So with that said, we have someone who is absolutely amazing coming up next to the stage, and I want to just read a little bit about her. Brianna Faye is a leading technology futurist. She is an MI trained architect, artist, and creative. She is the CTO of the Underline 501c3 and the founder of Metacritic, a collective that builds generative virtual architecture for the metaverse. From GPS-enabled smart helmets to AI engines for electric vehicles, she has led projects spanning the metaverse, blockchain, AR, and VR, the Internet of Things, smart buildings and cities, and is an advocate for human-centered design solutions, bridging digital physical environments. I am excited to announce Brianna Faye to the stage, please. Hey, Brianna, how are you?
Brianna, wow.
Hi, everyone. So such a pleasure to be alongside all of these trailblazers and women trailblazers and underrepresented voices. And that this is like, I think that this is my first panel of only all women. So this is fantastic.
Well, that is exciting. We're happy to have you here. We're going to jump down and let you take it away. Tell us all that we need to know about the upcoming metaverse and how we should be maneuvering here and how we got here. Thank you so much.
Great. Happy to. I also wanted to segue from some of the conversations that were just happening about basically the hardware component of, future technology, AR, VR, and the metaverse. And the kind of hardware component is a limitation for some, right? There's a learning experience when it comes down to it. And I just want everyone in the audience to know that you don't have to own a VR headset or any expensive tech to be able to experience firsthand what the metaverse is. You can actually get, you can do it on a computer browser. Pretty much all you need is internet and a screen to experience it. So there are lots of opportunities for basically everyone to participate, and hardware agnostic. You do need at least one pair, one type of thing, but it can even be a borrowed computer, right? So even if you don't own your own, you can always get that experience firsthand. So I want to make sure that accessibility is such a big component, because I think in the way it's being presented, especially with NFTs and the metaverse fixation on blockchain technology and expensive hardware, that people know they can be participants, and it can be accessible to all, and that's something that I'm a big proponent of. So yeah, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what the metaverse is, defining and designing for it. Here we go. So first, I know they were given a great intro, but my name is Brianna Faye. BriannaFaye.eth is what I go online as, and you can find me on predominantly Twitter. So Twitter handle is _Brianna Faye. And basically we're going to talk about AR, VR, Web3, and what that means, how all those things pertain to the metaverse. So if you haven't had a clear understanding of how all of these probably new, unfamiliar, jargony terms kind of come together, that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about today. So you can go ahead to the next slide. So what is the metaverse? It's kind of a combination of many things, right? And these are just a few, but these are the biggest buckets. So one is the tech. Then you have avatars. So avatars are the people, or for example, in social media, we have pictures that represent us, right? Our profile pictures. So in a 3D environment, it's not just a picture, it's not just a flat surface, it's an avatar. And an avatar can be, a 3D model of you, like literally you modeled, but it can also be like this kind of cartoon character version of you. It can also be, in the same way that, iPhones have built in, monkeys or mice or any kind of animal that you can kind of pick as your avatar to represent you, and you can pretend it's you. This is the same thing in the metaverse. You can kind of pick a character, or you can pick a you, but basically it's a representation of you. It's your identity walking around in a 3D virtual space, much like a video game. And so you also have virtual assets. We'll talk a little bit about what virtual assets are, or digital assets. You've probably heard a lot about NFTs already. So we'll dive into what that actually means, and more so in the kind of combination of the metaverse ecosystem and avatars and tech and how all these things actually pertain and relate to one another. And of course, you have fancy hardware. It doesn't have to be fancy, but there is some sort of hardware involved. But again, I want to reiterate that like hardware doesn't have to be, you know, a top of the line Oculus, for example, right? Like you can actually get a similar experience for the metaverse on your own computer or on your phone. There are also like mobile friendly experiences. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that, you know, don't feel like you have to wait to save up to get something to actually become a participant. You can do it today, right after this presentation or after the conference in general. So, and then interoperability. So that's a topic that is one of the kind of forgotten ones, I'd say, usually when it comes to explaining the basics of the metaverse. But interoperability is super important because I want to make sure you guys can still hear me. It's so important because basically that is what allows connectivity to other ecosystems and true decentralization to occur. So what does decentralization mean? It basically means that if anyone's seen Ready Player One, they know the consensus is that there's like this one company that built one metaverse that everyone exists and plays in, right? And that's not actually what we want to occur. And it's most likely far from the future. In most cases, similar to websites, right? Anyone can own and create a website. Anyone can have online digital presence. And that's decentralized. So part of it is decentralized so that there could be many different metaverse worlds that actually connect to one another. And interoperability is key for that. So that means that you would be able to take things from one world and connect them to another. And that's really important for anyone who's kind of, you know, starting to understand the cryptocurrency space. You probably have heard about these things, but it's so important for you to own your assets as opposed to one company, because what happens, like, you know, when a company, you know, shuts down after 10 years and all the assets that you have in there are now worthless, right? Because, and even if they haven't shut down, but you can't migrate those to another ecosystem, another game, that makes those assets virtually, you know, potentially worthless. So interoperability is super crucial for us to build in thinking in longevity, like thinking in the long road. If what's popular today, you know, Sandbox, Decentraland, all these metaverse worlds, all these metaverse games, or just video games in general, if the only way for those to be successful is in their own environment, we're not allowing for people to actually like connect to other ecosystems, it's super detrimental, right? Because it means the value of those assets could be very, very limited in terms of time and in terms of money. So this just kind of iterates on some of those pieces. And here's some images. Probably you've seen some of these, and some of these look familiar. But we basically have, you know, this metaverse portrayal coming from the giants of Meta, for example, the Facebook company. So you have, you know, Mark Zuckerberg demonstrating Oculus with the fancy tech, we'll call it, at the top. But then at the bottom, you have what the actual experience is. And on the left, you'll see it's more of like a familiar gaming experience, right? So you're an avatar, you're running through a world, you're accomplishing some sort of mission. It's posed as a game, right? On the right, you'll see something different, which is really interesting. And that's something that the 3D worlds are less known for, but are going to start becoming more known for, which is 3D online social experiences. So think of this as just social media, right? So we use social media every day, but it's typically in a very two-dimensional format. I like to actually refer to our current state of our social media as a newspaper experience. We're literally like in the stages of reading the newspaper on the internet. And why do I say that? It's like, well, we're looking at a 2D screens 90% of the time, right? And we're scrolling, we're flipping, we're turning pages, right? We're clicking through slides, like I'm literally clicking through a slide right now, as if I'm turning a page. And so it's a very two-dimensional flat experience. So the metaverse is saying, well, we just really think that's going to be three-dimensional someday. That's where things are trending, right? And so on the right, the bottom, you see this group of people. These people are actually all different avatars. And so each one of them is owned by a different person. So this is actually just your Facebook friends or your Instagram friends coming together in a three-dimensional space and getting to interact. Now, what is the actual interaction, right? It can just be us talking and having a chat, right? But we can also be doing programmatic activities together. So in the same way that you could be doing a video game and playing with your friends, in the same way that you could be Skyping together, maybe even you've watched Netflix and you've texted a friend and say, hey, I'm watching this show at the same time, right? And you're kind of trying to share in that experience together, but the platform doesn't really allow for it, right? Because it's very Web 2, it's very 2D. In a 3D world, you could actually imagine going to a movie together with your friend who could be, or family member, right, who's located halfway across the world, and you could come together in a virtual space and watch a movie together, and then be able to communicate as if similar you were actually in a movie theater. So, and that's just one example, right? You can replicate almost any physical experience virtually. We just haven't seen a lot of them yet, but what we have seen are virtual concerts, we've seen virtual movies, we've seen virtual conference rooms, virtual parties and discos, and we're going to start seeing a lot more. So that's the really exciting thing, is that it's going to kind of combine these three-dimensional social experiences with also the gamers, right, who come from this 3D world of having a mission and earning points and winning a game. And you'll actually be able to play a game in the same metaverse as you would be able to, have a shared movie viewing experience with your friends who are halfway across the world. So that's sort of the power of what three-dimensional experiences do for you. And of course, all of that can exist in what we call the metaverse. So what makes up the metaverse? Now we're going to talk about the elements. We have art, digital objects, memberships, real estate, virtual real estate, collectibles, IDs, meaning identifications, avatars. We've already talked about a lot of these. POAPs are proof of attendance protocols. So that's actually an identifier that says, like, oh, I was here, I attended this event, right? And it's almost like if you've ever saved a ticket stub to like an important concert. Like, I know for one, I have, a couple of, important concerts I attended when I was younger, or movie tickets that I kept the ticket to, right? Because it was a special thing. I actually have a LeBron James high school basketball ticket that I went to when I was younger, and I've kept it all this time. So that's my proof of attendance, right? I kept it because it was maybe an important event, an important game. If you've ever saved a ticket stub, you can imagine why a POAP, which is basically an NFT confirming you were there at some event in time, time-stamped forever, you can imagine how that might be important someday. And these are just a couple images of some of those things that are listed below. So these are actually all NFTs that I own. And again, NFT, non-fungible token, is just a digital asset that's on the blockchain. So we talked about art. This is a Damien Hirst art piece NFT that was created. This is a rug, and it's an NFT, kind of like an art project. But the reason why I pointed it out is because this could be an actual virtual asset that you have. Or if you're a gamer, think of this as being your skin, right? Gamers pay for skins or pay for weapons or things like that they can actually use in a virtual game or virtual metaverse or social experience environment that might have some utility. The third one is a comic book. So this is kind of an interesting one. It's a digital comic book that was put out by a project called Pixel Vault, and they created a Punks Comics series. Again, just kind of pointing to collectibles. There can be digital versions of everything. And in the same way that people collect physical comic books and read and collect and buy and sell and trade, you'll be able to do that digitally as well. And you can nowadays. The fourth one is a membership token. So basically, this is called a Pixel Vault DAO, and you got this for buying and burning the comic book on the left. The reason why I choose to focus on it is because it's a membership token. So by owning this NFT, it actually grants you membership to a community, which this is a private small community that, you know, they talk about the things that they want to talk about, which is predominantly NFTs and NFT projects and buying and selling NFTs. But again, you have access to an exclusive private membership club by owning this digital asset. And then the last one is a token that is actually a POAP. So that was a token that I personally received for attending a conference a year ago. And again, that's sort of my proof of attendance of that conference. You know, will that have value? Maybe some of them yes, maybe some of them no, right? But again, the point is that these are all things that represent assets and different types of assets that can exist in the metaverse. And in 3D online environments, which is really all the metaverse is. I know it's kind of a scary word because it's so unfamiliar, but really it's just 3D online social media, but like plus a lot of additional things. And we'll talk about some of those other things. Virtual real estate is one. So this is an example of, you know, being able to have virtual real estate as well. Avatars, of course, we talked about. This is actually my avatar, and the real estate and the house and the metaverse landscape you see behind it are all projects that I'm actually a part of. So everything you're seeing on the screen is actually an NFT that I personally own. So now how do we go about designing the metaverse, right? And thinking about it and how it integrates all together. I like to say, you know, do it responsibly, but also have fun because it is a game, right? And we can all benefit from being more playful and having fun in what we're doing. So we talked about interoperability before. Again, the reason why that's important is because the focus on building bridges to different worlds, building bridges to different ecosystems, not building just silos. So it can't stress enough of how it's so important that we focus on building things that connect people and not like sever connections, and that's a very like tech infrastructure thing. So, it may pertain to some people and not to others. But just know that when it comes to creating responsible Web3, metaverse, AR, VR environments, you really want to look at the games and the environments you're stepping into and saying, hey, is this organization focused on building bridges and not building silos? Because building bridges is what's going to protect you, protect your assets. Say this is an ecosystem that you are spending money to participate in, right? You might be buying land. You might be buying real estate, buildings. You might be buying assets, avatars. You really want to pay attention to where, okay, are they doing this in a decentralized Web3 way? If so, you'll be a lot more beneficial, because if they do it in a closed silo way, the things that you purchase in that game, in that social media experience, may never be transferred out. And you just have to accept that. So maybe you accept that, or maybe you look at places that are, again, building bridges and building that interoperability. Accessibility is so important. And it's very interesting because in the current state of these worlds that are being created and the technology that's being created, the possibilities are really limitless, right? Like you can literally design and build anything. I'm an ex-architect turned technologist, and so I understand, both the digital and the physical realm. And it's so interesting to me that we've started to approach designing our virtual spaces with a scarcity mindset, when in reality, we don't have to have scarcity at all, right? In a virtual environment, we could create infinite worlds, we can create infinite lands, infinite buildings, infinite experiences. And although we don't need them all right now because there's not enough people to onboard, it's very interesting to me that a lot of worlds are going in with a very scarcity first mindset, meaning there's only going to be so many of these things, and then the prices go up a lot because they're limited ones, right? So when people buy them, they're sold out, or the price goes up so high that people can't afford them. So this creates a lot of problems, and we just need to think responsibly about building in layers for accessibility, so that when there are 1 million and 2 million and 5 million people ready to be onboarded to the metaverse, they all have the ability to participate and not be left behind, in the way that our real world has these scarcity problems. It's very expensive to buy a house in the real world. And we've seen that especially the last 2 years, right, with real estate prices rising. But in the metaverse, we don't have to have those same problems. It really should be accessible to everyone. IRL connectivity, not just virtual reality. This one I'm very passionate about because of being someone who focuses on not just digital but physical environments as well. So we need to think about what this does to our real world lives and our real world. And so this is where I also reference Ready Player One example a lot, because that scared a lot of people and said, hey, we don't want this metaverse thing because we don't want to just only live in a virtual world and our real world is falling apart. And in reality, that's most likely not going to happen. But you need to think about how the decisions that you're making in every virtual environment really affect what you do, right? If you're in a virtual world with 10 friends who you are connecting with and having, a blast with, and maybe they're friends that you know in real life that you haven't seen in a while, maybe they're people that you just met, but you have to realize that hour that you spent with them is an hour that you're not spending in the real world, right? And so you have to think about the kind of ties. And I like to do that in the sense of, that's why building IRL connections and spaces and communities is just as important as building your virtual ones. In terms of monetizing the metaverse, there's lots of opportunities. There's lots of opportunities for economics, ownership. So assets are more valuable if interoperability exists, meaning they're transferable. The store of value, assets can appreciate in value over time. So that's always like a benefit, as opposed to buying something where the game closes down or the environment closes down and suddenly that's worthless. As well as the future of work. So there's going to be so many new incentives, job opportunities, ecosystems that just create new jobs. You can literally be a metaverse builder today, which means that you just know how to build and design a building in one of the metaverse games, and people will pay you like a normal rate. There's also games, play to earn, where you can actually like play a game and earn money for playing it. It's very common now in the Web3 space, and there's lots of play to earn games being developed. What else can you do? There's staking, renting, managing versus playing. So staking is you can lock in assets, gain yields over time. Renting, you can actually rent your digital assets, such as your game character that has skills, your real estate for virtual events. In the future, we'll actually see metaverse real estate likely being rented because so many people own it, and other people want access to that that strip of land. And again, why would someone want a virtual building? The same reason why someone would want a website. Imagine being able to rent a very popular website and to be able to shine light on your small business or your business in that environment on that website. It's advertising basically. So being able to rent virtual land is the same thing as like being able to put an ad on a website, and I can guarantee you it will be important. So we'll talk a little bit about generative virtual assets, and the reason why generative is so important is because that's what's going to allow for that accessibility that we talked about earlier versus scarcity. So generative will basically mean that you can create a lot of something because you're doing it generatively, and that is usually done using computational models. So I won't go too heavy into the tech side at all, but basically that you can create a lot of something with very few inputs, and that anyone would be able to create them. So what is generative design? It's using the power of computation to create infinite design options. So a lot of you have heard of like the Bored Apes and the CryptoPunks. Those are all aspects of generative design. They're all outputs. So they were 10,000 of one, different type of image and cartoon that was created using only a handful of different assets, and they were computed basically to create 10,000 of them very fast. It's automatic. It's accessible. This is a project that I'm personally working with. So we actually do generative buildings. Basically, each layout of a virtual designed home is generated by an algorithm, and it's unique in its layout. How can you use these things in the metaverse? They can be, virtual galleries. They could be virtual stores. And again, it's sort of, they're designed in the way that they could fit into any kind of virtual environment and metaverse world. This just gives an example of, you know, the different kind of configurations. So you could say, well, what does that mean, different interior layouts? It means that you could get, you know, 10,000 of these different layouts, or 100,000 generated basically instantly. So instead of, you know, hiring one architect to you know, design one house and saying, oh, can you change these few things? You could actually program a computer, but you wouldn't need to program it because the programming work is already done. And you could say, hey, I want 10 different designs for a building, and I want it to be either a house or I want it to be a museum. And then it'll generate, you know, however many options you specify. And if you say, no, I don't like those, like give me 50 more, right? It will just give you 50 more. And this is all done in basically seconds because of the way that you can apply generative design and computation. This just gives you an example. I don't know if I can play this video. No, it doesn't look like it. But this gives an example. It's a video of kind of the configuration happening in real time. And you could see the building being manipulated, basically using the power of computation. But we'll bypass it. And again, how does this scale? So generative virtual cities. What does this mean? More than one building, more types of building. Interoperable architecture. So this 3D model that we're talking about can be imported into different worlds. And there's a few existing worlds. If you're looking for more diving in deep into what metaverse worlds there are, you can look on the left there. We have Decentralized, Superworld app, Crypto Voxel, Sandbox, Somnium Space. So these are all different metaverse worlds that exist today. That people can actually, you can go, you can create an avatar, you can walk around in space, you can attend a party, a concert, multiple virtual galleries that are all showcasing remarkable work by NFT and digital artists. And it's just a fantastic experience. So if you haven't experienced this, I encourage you to do that. But yeah, the importance of generative design is that it can create all these spaces really fast and at scale. And it can do it in a way where it's interoperable, meaning these generative assets that we're creating can go into any environment. And that's really a handshake when you're speaking of the tech component between the environment, you know, the metaverse world, and the asset creator. So we're creating assets, and we need to be able to import and kind of handshake with the metaverse world. And that's why we say it's so important that worlds kind of allow for that handshake, right? So that you can move assets in and out of it. So what is the next frontier? What does the future look like for the metaverse? Well, one, we have to understand as a whole that, you know, NFTs are not just JPEGs. 3D virtual assets are going to be increasingly important. So not just 2D, but three-dimensional assets that you will be able to use in three-dimensional spaces. And you'll be able to turn, you know, 2D assets into 3D ones as well. And what does that mean? It's not just about avatars. It's not just about, you know, your NFTs, but it could be everything. This is also like we talked about identification in the beginning. This could end up being, you know, the future of how your social security card, your driver's license, your passport. These are not just, you know, game and social experiences. NFTs will really be the foundational technology that will hold most of our lives, to be honest. It could be the title to your house, the deed, it could be the title to your car. And so there's so many opportunities there for NFTs to have like just really a force into all aspects of our lives. Also IRL architectural design. So with what we're building, we talked about that we're doing generative virtual buildings, right? But the next stage is that these could also be for designing real buildings. And I think the really amazingly fun thing about the metaverse is things that you design for it, the assets, the digital assets, potentially NFTs, they can be for the real world and the virtual world. If you have an NFT that's a valuable asset in a virtual world, and you know it becomes a brand that blows up, we've seen stuff with like the Bored Apes and the CryptoPunks, that as a printed asset could actually be valuable as well. That as like on a t-shirt or a hat, in the same way that we wear Nike shirts and Gucci clothes, right? Like those things become brands that also become powerful. So I just wanted people to kind of think about that IRL connectivity that bridges what we call the metaverse and the meat space, which is a funny term to just represent the real world. And that's it. GM stands for good morning, which is all the time in Web3 world. And I'd love to open it up for any questions that anyone has. If you'd like to go deeper into any of the topics, I'm happy to answer.
Yes. So, Brianna, thank you so much. That was great. I, have tons and tons of questions for you, but first we're going to get to know you a little bit better. So, can you tell us a little bit, for all the little girls out there who, are looking at you and saying, hey, wow, you're doing something that I want to do. What would you tell them? So how did you get started in this space, and what were you like as a kid?
Oh, that's such a great question. So I got started in the space, which I'll refer to as the Web3 space, in probably about 2017. And that was from an investment point of view, from a builder point of view. I work in tech, so it was like building blockchain products and ecosystems. But if you want to start from like technology, I actually got very involved when I was doing my graduate program at MIT. And so that was my transition of aha moment when I was doing my master's in architecture. And I was just blown away by all of the things that were going on in the innovation and technology sector. And I wanted to be a part of that. And of course, I was in a very unique circumstance where I was like literally in the heart of the world of technology, being in innovation labs at MIT were just an incredible experience. But there's so many more opportunities out there to get exposure to some of these things today than there were when I was growing up. And so I really encourage like any young minds in the room that if you're excited by some of these things, and it doesn't be the exact, things, like figure out what you're excited about. Everything is accessible online. And there's pretty much anything you want to learn today, you can learn about online, and you can learn about free. So I just encourage everyone to start, investigating, doing your own investigating online. Find free courses, find the websites. Like if you're interested in the metaverse, look at those lists of metaverse worlds, sign up and just start playing. All of them are typically free to play. And so there's so many opportunities just for you to learn by doing. And the amazing thing in the Web3 space is that you can actually get paid to learn to do things, right? Like you could be learning how to play a play to earn game and be earning money for that. So there's going to be really big opportunities in the future. This foundation is just being laid right now, but there's kids that have made, fortunes just by being like, their parents bought them an NFT to play a certain game, and now they've like amassed, a small fortune just by playing an online game. And when we're going to see more and more of these opportunities arise. So.
Yeah, for sure. So that brings me directly to my next question, which is, to me, the foundation for the metaverse and the idea and the existence of the metaverse is really gaming. Gamers have been here for a very, very long time. So have sci-fi fans. Before the term was even coined, we've been here, and we've kind of had this broader vision of what we could be doing with technology and with experiences. So are you a gamer? And if so, what was your favorite game whenever you started? And what is your favorite game or go-to now? Decentralized or not?
I love this. So I wouldn't identify as a gamer, but I do love games. And I agree with you. The gamers have been here since before these terms were ever existed. And it's actually where I see like some of the biggest opportunities, from Web3 are going to go to gamers because they are 3D world natives, right? Huge opportunities, like for people that have been playing games for eons to now suddenly have a very critical path to how to make that a living very easily, and not even as like I have to become a famous online blogger to make money from my gaming. It's like, no, you're going to be able to just game and be paid for that. So one, that's phenomenal. Some of my old favorites. So I still have my original Atari from like years and years and years ago. So actually, I have some of my favorite games are like OG old school, like Pong from Atari and Driver from, I think it's Sega, I can't remember. But yeah, I just love like the super old school.
Way back in the day stuff, which is great. Okay, cool. So when talking about AR and VR, one thing that I commonly hear from clients, from people who are discovering, kind of what this space can be, is that they don't want to lose reality. And so my question to you is, what is your preference? So excluding XR and MR, just looking specifically at AR and VR, what is your preference between the two and why?
My preference is heavily around AR because I love the ability to bridge digital physical, and that happens most in an augmented reality environment. Although I will say that in terms of exciting experiences, I don't feel like I have, a list of like really phenomenal AR experiences that transform, your perception of what technology will be in the future. I think there's one I listed earlier, Super World app, which is, an app that basically allows you to buy the virtual land plots like in their app, but it's like the real world. And if you own that land plot, which is just on your phone, it's like the world around you, right? You can put NFTs, you can put installations. So it's kind of like an interesting like overlay. And the things that artists are doing with that is really cool. Like you can do public art installations, but you're doing it virtually and through an app. But yeah, I think that it's a utility thing when it comes to augmented reality. And it's cool to see something in the real world next to a real person that you can interact with. But I still think there are limitations because how do the other people around you also, enjoy that simultaneously? So, I mean, I love both. I think I'm more wowed by VR experiences right now, especially ones that are, I guess they call themselves like 4D or 5D experiences where they like, The Void is a great one. If you've ever heard of that, it's a phenomenal kind of experience pop-up where you can do shared VR experiences with a group that you're with, and you're all basically playing the same game, but you literally move through an environment that's a black box. But in the game that you're playing, it feels like you're in a Star Wars ship, and when you move, you're actually moving through the ship in your VR headset. So and then of course they do like heat and temperature changes and sound effects, and your wearables like all vibrate so you can feel impact. And so those are like very experiential, very, out of body transformative type experiences that I really love. That those are really only achievable through super immersive VR.
Yeah. So for me, I think that VR is to me the better option sometimes, because if I'm going to have a preference, right? And I think the reason for that is kind of why people are afraid of this space. So people often say that they don't want to lose reality. They don't want to feel like they don't have a choice. When I'm in my VR headset, I'm there, right? And so I'm in that experience. It's 100% immersive. But I can take it off. And when I take it off, I'm right back in my reality, and there's like, I can silence everything. And I like that. And so I think that if you've seen Ghost in the Shell, that's a really great, we watched that in my club a couple of weeks ago, but it's a really great movie. There's a couple different iterations of it, but the version we watched is they all have very heavily augmented reality. So you can see buildings, and on these buildings, there's people's faces. And so advertisements are always on and always active and always around you. And you can't really get away with it because you're walking through it. And so I don't know that, we'll talk about the Internet of Things and kind of having this always on internet. How do you get away when we're in that space? Like, do you have an answer for that, or is that just going to be the thing that becomes the norm? What do you
I
think?
mean, it's a really good question. I think the thing that you're pointing to is that there's going to be, with new interfaces, with new hardware, with, digital screens proliferating everywhere, which we've already seen. With that comes ad space, right? And ad companies and companies trying to, be present more and more. And I think that there's ways to do that sophisticatedly, where it doesn't become this like overabundance of like Times Square everywhere. So, but I think it takes responsibility from corporations and from companies, and also at the same time, why grassroots, projects, programs, technology ecosystems are so important, right? Because if the system is truly decentralized, we don't have this same kind of gold rush to pour ads into the 5 owned ad spaces, right? If all of us own a piece of real estate, it's up to all of us to decide. And and that's, you're talking billions as opposed to going to 5, right? And that's part of why decentralization is so important, because in the same way that everyone should be able to own their own plot of land in the real world, and their own website, and be able to get traffic to that website. I think of the problems that we face today with, our search engines. Our search engines become the way that people find your website. Yes, you can create a website, but if you don't have SEO and you're not up there on Google's search list, no one's going to find you, right? And so that's, we have those same things, those same problems that we need to prevent from happening in the 3-dimensional virtual space. And in terms of things that you can do, you can advocate, you can support grassroots and decentralized projects as opposed to the highly centralized ones, and also learn about what it takes to really become a steward of your own asset. Learn about those, if you're new to crypto, learn about, people say be your own bank and decentralization. Actually go and learn what that means, because it's really profoundly powerful, right? If we all own our own assets, we are taking power away from centralized systems, and then we get to decide what we do with that, right? So it's super powerful. The rabbit hole goes very deep on that kind of question, but I encourage, if anyone, this has sounded remotely interesting to you, I encourage you to dive a little deep and go down the rabbit hole and learn about, why decentralization is, and interoperability is actually super important. Because if the people are the power, we don't have these same problems with what we're fighting with today, which is like severe data governments, and trying to walk back on, the way that data is highly centralized. Like, few companies in the world own most of the world's data and are selling it all the time, and maybe some people don't understand why that's so crucial, but it is. It's a control aspect, and you are being mined for, your information. So think of if you owned that own information, right, and you got to choose who had access to it, it could be very valuable. Maybe you sell your own data someday instead of it being taken from you.
Yeah. That's what I like to say. Like, my vision for the future of decentralization and a decentralized metaverse, because that's the only one that I want, is that I will be able to reach out, hire my own data analyst or my professional data analyzer analyst, and they will take my data, take a look at it, because I've hired them to do that. So I've given them access. I've granted that access, right? And then they take a look at my profile, the things that I do, the touch points, they were optimizing things, and then they're looking at kind of my partnership portfolio and determining who I should be affiliates with, who I should make partnerships with, and where I should actually transact my data, and determining the best rates for me to do so. And that money is coming right back to me, and then I then pay them to be that professional liaison for me. Like, that is exactly where I want to head. And you can
100%.
decentralized metaverse. You can't do that if we're talking about these centralized ones. So while they may be fun, right? Like there definitely some fun stuff out there. If you are a parent, you're probably playing Roblox with your kids, hopefully. If you are, kind of a little bit older, we just had the launch of the very first MMO in a virtual space. So MMORPG, it's called Zenith. That's out there now. I am a gamer, right? True to form, I am a gamer. And so I've been here for a very long time. But even now, like I look at what's available. And first of all, the decentralized options are not spaces I want to thrive in. Like I might go there for once or twice, right? But when I'm looking at what's currently available, I'm not seeing the graphics I want. I'm not seeing the social experiences I want, and I'm not seeing just kind of the function and functionality that I'm looking for in a space. I want PvP, open world PvP. Give me that in a metaverse, and let's have fun. It can be sequestered to a certain section of the metaverse, like that's fine. But I definitely want that experience. And PvP is player versus player. So if you are a gamer, you understand that term. If not, there's also the term PvE, which is player versus environment, which is what you get when you have like a dungeon crawler or just a game where you're just playing against the computer, right? So having said all of that, the gaming piece is fun, but there's also the work piece, right? So we also have the future of work in the metaverse. We've seen Microsoft come out with their iteration of Teams, which is going to have us all in our avatars. I was on a conference this year, last year, where a gentleman was actually in his NFT. He had it augmented, and so that instead of like we're seeing the pictures of me and you right now, instead of seeing that, his skin was on, and so he had his NFT over him at this conference through the whole thing, and he looked like an alien. And so it was really cool because everybody else was just regular, and he's there. But that's the future where we're heading. We also have some really cool things happening with the applications that we know and love right now. So, like I said, Microsoft came out with Teams. They also, have the Excel and Office suite. But there's also other apps out there. So I like to use the example of Trello. If you're into project management, software development, at some point in life, you have used Trello. And so Trello is out there. And it is the idea of a Kanban board and being able to do some task management. There's a couple of different ways to do that. But Smartsheet is actually out in VR. So you can actually, it's a little bit different than Trello, but Smartsheet allows you to do project management. You can do some spreadsheets and document management out there. But in this iteration of it, it's collaborative teamwork taken to a whole nother level. So you can literally be inside your headset and have an infinite workspace instead of having to scroll up or down or move left and right. Like these are the things that I get excited about because I'm a nerd. So it's like we have all these different ways that the metaverse can go. At the core of it, it is important that it is decentralized. So having said that, I am going to give you an opportunity to tell people how to connect with you and what you see for the future and what you're hoping the future of the metaverse is. And then, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, you can find me. I think it's listed under where my name is. So on Twitter, I'm _ Brianna Faye. You can find me mostly there. You can type in my name, LinkedIn, and connect and follow. BriannaFaye.eth is my cryptocurrency address. So if anyone hasn't been exposed to what that means, it's kind of like a domain name. So it's a website name for your crypto address. So you can actually send people crypto directly to their name if they own the equivalent to ENS, which is Ethereum name service. There's also unstoppable domains. But yeah, feel free to connect with me on social media and the future of the metaverse. NiKole, I loved your depiction.
Okay, thank you, Charmaine. So, Brianna, if you can hear me, you are frozen. I am not hearing any feedback from you at all. So we really want to hear you tell us what you think the future of the metaverse is. That's a terrible spot to stop in. But you know what? We're going to give you a minute because hopefully you have some time and you can stay around for this panelist discussion. And we are going to go right into an intermission. And then we'll come back and you will hear from us. We'll have some girl talk right around what the metaverse is, what are some of our fears, and what we're hoping we can build out. So we're all going to answer that question coming up soon. Stay tuned for that. This intermission will last a few minutes and we'll be back in Futuristic Fridays in the metaverse. Hey. Welcome back, guys. So we are here with the International Women of Blockchain Conference. We hope that you have had a joy-filled day learning all about the metaverse. It is Futuristic Fridays in the metaverse, and I am your hostess, NiKole, and NiKole Maxwell. I am the CEO of Black Multiverse Enterprises and Technical Consulting. And I am obviously a metaverse enthusiast. I have been a gamer for a very long time. But, you know, we got serious about talking about the metaverse several months ago in talking about it. So much so that some organizations were created. Those organizations have a focus, at least my organization has a focus on ensuring that Black people are informed, we're educated, we're trained, and we are prepared to advance in the metaverse. The reason that that is so critical and important to me is because the metaverse is a recreation of our reality right now. I talked to you a little bit earlier about having a meta mind shift. And that is a shift from the way that Meta presented the metaverse into what it actually can be. Brianna Faye did a great job of telling us what decentralized metaverses can look like and gave several options. Those 5 options are the same options that we always hear about. So I am determined to make sure that people know that there's more out there for both centralized metaverses and decentralized metaverses. This is the blockchain conference, right, for women. So International Women of Blockchain Conference. We have some real issues that are going on in the metaverse and that we need to care for in the metaverse as we move forward. Diversity is one of them. Ensuring that we are not recreating the past and some of the problems that have existed is another. And so today we are just going to have some girl talk about what the metaverse can bring to us, what it has in store, and what we hope for the future, as well as what we are working really hard to ensure is happening as we move forward. So first up, I am going to bring up Yinka, and you guys are familiar with Yinka. Yinka is our founder and of Black Women Blockchain Council. Yinka is the founder of IWB. But moreover, Yinka is also a blockchain enthusiast, and she understands all things about the blockchain. So welcome back, Yinka. I'm also going to bring up Corey Clay. Corey Clay is one of our moderators, and Corey has taken some steps and measures to understand cryptocurrency. We heard from Corey several times over the last couple of weeks, but we are delighted to have Corey here on stage with us today. Hey, Corey.
I need to unmute. Hey, y'all.
It happens. Hey, Corey. Hey. And then next up, I'm going to bring up Charmaine, and Charmaine is going to give us a very quick introduction to herself before we get into our girl talk. Charmaine, please join us on stage.
Hi. Oh, it's lovely to see you all.
Hey, Charmaine, tell us about you and what you are doing in this space.
Okay, so I mean, I'd just like to say before I start, I've been really enjoying the amazing speakers today. I've learned a lot and I'm just really enjoying the vibe. So I am an NFT art collector and I'm an NFT writer. I write a blog. I'm passionate about promoting blockchain technology and encouraging more people to embrace Web3. So in 2020, I co-founded a DAO called Women of Crypto Art, which supports women NFT artists. I've also been involved with a metaverse, which is to be inclusive and accessible for everyone, called Queendom, where, you know, women and underrepresented groups such as LGBTQIA+, BIPOC, people with different cognitive and physical abilities can all be welcome and where their needs are listened to and met. So that's a bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you. So welcome to the panel. So my first question, ladies, is first of all, what did you think about today's session? So we went through first steps, and then we also heard from Brianna Faye. What did you guys think?
First, can we just celebrate Charmaine's accent?
All the way from Scotland.
OMG. I love it.
Yeah, I think today was fantastic. It gave us the experience that we're looking for, right? And it also introduced us to so much more that's out there. Now, you guys are making me have FOMO right now because I'm like, I really need to go get a headgear. It just depends on the type of headgear, right? I know a lot of people are using Oculus, but for various reasons, I don't want to use Oculus. So I feel like if I go out there and choose a particular headgear, that I might be in a universe by myself.
That's a legitimate question and concern, right? So earlier I was talking about, kind of these experiences and how they're not quite there yet. One of those issues that I see anyway is that the populace isn't there yet. So even if you are on an Oculus and let's say you go into, their world, which is Horizon, you are kind of not with a whole lot of folks. It's kind of scarce when it comes to people. So right now it's still early. People are still adopting to the headsets, or they're not there yet. Lots of folks are waiting for the next iteration to come out or something better that is offered by a different company. People have various issues across the board. So we're not seeing, the full force of what the metaverse can be. And I think that that's important, right? So that's a very legitimate question. But you also brought up another thing, which is headsets. And so as I'm looking at our screen right now, and I think about kind of my experience every time I put this on, this is girl talk, right? Mm-hmm. We've got hair issues, right? So let's talk about that just for a second, because we've got to put up our hair or do something. And I'm sitting there, with my headset on today, and I'm just freaking out like I'm on camera, and I don't know what my hair is looking like under here, and I hope that it's okay. But we have legitimate concerns. Like I don't want so the strap on here is it's like it's a elastic strap, right? And so when that goes around your head, you have a chance for hair breakage. You don't want to do that. And there's other folks. We talk about kind of being diverse with our headsets. I have a friend who has a brain injury, and so she has traumatic brain injury. And so there are portions of her head that are tender. So how do we make space for people who are trying to access these virtual environments because they can be such great places to be that are a little different from the world we're in now, when they can't really use the equipment? So that's a legitimate question. What else do you guys think?
This is like so very new. It's really in its infancy stage. And the current headsets are very onerous and clunky, right? I really love that. Was it Viverse video that you showed with their headset was like really cool and more like glasses, a lot less clunky than the current version of the Oculus. So I think as time goes by, I know somebody somewhere is developing something with girls who have hair. They have us in mind, but I feel you, as a woman of color, my hairstyle changes quite often. And I'm often struggling, even with the headset that I have on now, like getting tangled. And it's a headache. So yeah, those are all considerations that a male-dominated, frontier at this point in time might not think about. So that's why women have to be involved as builders and architects in this, in the metaverse.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Charmaine?
Yeah, I mean, I heard recently of a story where some VR headsets were given to people to test out in Nigeria, and the strap on the Oculus Go actually snapped because the designers didn't think about African hairstyles. So that's the classic, white male developer syndrome. The other thing that I heard recently was women specifically have issues wearing the headsets. I can't wear them. I just get headaches. But apparently, because women's heads tend to be smaller than men's heads, the distance between our pupils in our eyes is closer together. And I think you mentioned earlier, NiKole, about you've got to set it up. And if you can't get the right pupillary distance, then you're going to get simulation sickness whilst wearing a VR headset. And it's the equivalent of wearing a pair of prescription glasses with the wrong prescription. I mean, I can't wear these headsets. I would just fall over. So I think I need a more sort of augmented mixed reality. I still have to see the ground beneath my feet. I can't be fully immersive, unfortunately.
Man, you touch on so many different things there. I'm gonna tap into kind of the glasses though, and you're absolutely right. So when you are especially with like the one that I have, so the Quest, you have to adjust the eyes. I actually do have an astigmatism. So for me, my eyesight is, so I wear contacts and my contacts are weighted. And what that means is that there's weights that ensure that the prescription stays in the right spot. Well, when I put on the headset, it sits here. And sometimes that causes my contacts to go down a little bit. And so the prescription moves. And so it's not perfect. It's like, I don't get sick in VR, but there are times when it's like, I can't get the fit just right that day. And so, I've definitely had that as a challenge. There's lots of these considerations that go into making these headsets, but you also touched on another one, which is we're more delicate, right? So we're females and these headsets are heavy. They are. Just in reality,
that was the question that I was going to ask. Yeah, how heavy?
Yeah, they're heavy. And like I said, it does weigh on my little cheeks here. But you also have the idea of the strap. So the strap, at least on these the Oculus Quest 2, the strap is an elastic band, so you can adjust it. But you're either constantly doing that if you have hair like ours. So your hair, it slips. For us, our hair is maybe getting like a little stuck here. And so you have to constantly be adjusting it. Or like when I'm wearing mine, the longer I have it on, the more matted my hair is becoming, or the more flattened it's becoming, not matted, but flattened it's becoming. And so that means that it needs to be smaller. So I'm constantly adjusting to make sure that it's tightened enough. These are things that are not, I don't feel like, considered when they're building these headsets at all. And so, as females, we've got different challenges. So to anybody watching this, I'm looking directly at the camera to tell you there is a business out here for women to develop headsets for women. There is also a very good niche if you are somebody who likes to develop accessories for these headsets. There is a place and space for you. We're talking hair ties that work. We're talking about glasses. Yinka, you're wearing your glasses today.
Yeah,
so,
about glasses.
Yeah.
Just like you, I toggle between contacts, but I'm consistently using my glasses. Like, do I need to take off my glasses? And will that give me a blurry vision, or will that give me, like, I don't know what to expect at this point.
It would be, so if you don't have your glasses on, it's going to be blurry, right? Because I'm assuming that those are correcting something. So that correction is not inside those lenses. So you are just like when you're without your glasses and no contacts. So I would recommend having the contacts in when you're in your headset for sure. But there's consideration. So people do have, they call them, I think, spacers. And so you can put it there to where it like surrounds your glasses and then put the headset on top of that. And so it's just another weight though, right? I think some of them are foam, but it's another weight that goes into actually being able to see. But there is a business out there. we need
sweaty. Does it get sweaty?
I will say it's not sweaty, but it's a suction that happens. So if you think about like what I said, like I wear contacts. So it's a suction. I can literally feel the air going out of the inside. And so like I'll have to adjust it so that I can get some air in there. So I think that that's interesting too. So yeah. So you know, we've got space for us as women. What are some of your
I was going to say, if you don't mind, you mentioned that women needs to tap into this space. We do have a woman, right? A Black woman that created Seek VR. So there is, you know, we're slowly starting to consider this space and the opportunities that are growing in this space. So I'm looking forward to more women providing their insight. And hopefully, you know, we're designing better looking ones as well that's functional for us.
Yeah, Mary Spiro. She is the developer and CEO of Seek VR, and that is CEEK VR. You can check them out. I'm trying to get her to the conference here as well, so that would be awesome. If you know her, please reach out and tell her to respond. But yeah, we are definitely, you know, in this space, but developing things specifically for women, I think, is a niche that's out there for somebody. For sure, whether it's a headset or accessories, or, you know, just really anything, because we need some help. So what else can you guys, so when you're thinking about the metaverse, what comes to mind? That's what I want to know. So what is your vision for the metaverse, above and beyond decentralization? So what does it look like to you? What can you be able to do? What are you looking forward to? And we're going to start with Yinka.
Oh, I was going to say everything that HTC said was possible. That's what I want. I mean, like, I'm sitting here like, whoa, okay, I'm ready. And it did give me FOMO because I'm like, if this is out there already, I want to experience that. I mean, from, you know, meditating to purchasing tickets to a concert to buying an NFT, interacting with family members, all these things while in the comfort of your own home. I think it's fantastic. And so I'm ready for a world like that.
Yeah, awesome. So I love that. Like I saw that last week. I was telling everybody, I'm like, HTC, thank you. HTC always comes through. So I don't ever have issues with my HTC products or quality or anything like that. So I am definitely looking forward to that as an option for the metaverse or for metaverse experiences. So Charmaine, what are you looking forward to in the metaverse? What does it look like to you once we actually get there?
Yeah, well, I would imagine that you could work there and play there. So you'd have groups of friends, you'd like go to a virtual movie together, go virtual shopping, go to art galleries. And also, you know, you would have business meetings in there as well. And this is already happening for some people. So that's really cool. In terms of what I hope it would be, I hope it would overcome the sort of bullying and sexism issues of Web 2. I mean, I'd like to operate in a sort of open space where human rights are at the forefront and everybody feels safe and nobody is trolled online. And I don't know if we need metaverse police. I'm sure that would be very expensive to police the virtual world, but we need to try and think of a way to make the metaverse police itself so that we all feel safe to bring our real selves to the metaverse and not be sort of hiding behind what society thinks that we should be doing and looking like.
Oh, we are definitely coming back to that metaverse police thing. But first, we're going to hear from Corey. Corey, tell us a little bit about what you think you want for the future of the metaverse. And while you're doing that, I'm going to bring up Tam. Tam is another part of our mod squad. And so Tam, welcome back. Welcome to the conversation. We're going to add you in just a second. I'll let you get situated there. Corey, what do you see for the future of the metaverse?
Like Yinka, I was wholly impressed with the whole Viverse metaverse world. I really could use that guided meditation. And to be able to do that from any beautiful place in the world, I can't imagine how amazing it would be to start my day that way. Also, to visit some of the castles in Scotland, which I've always wanted to do. And, you know, the going to the Louvre, which I've never been to in person, like being able to be anywhere in the world that you would choose to be, that was available to you in the metaverse world that is being created, and to have that experience without physically having to be there is really exciting to me. And like NiKole, I'm definitely a futurist, a sci-fi fantasy girl. I've been, you know, immersed for a long time in other worlds. I love that whole idea of having like the holodeck on Star Trek. Like, I hope that's like where we're headed, you know, maybe not in my lifetime, but just the thought that that could happen or be a possibility. And I feel like they're on their way to it. The Ready Player One might be years away, but we're on the way. So when I think about those kinds of realities and what it can do, I mean, the possibilities too, you know, for Charmaine mentioning creating worlds for people who are disabled, who physically might be limited, and being able to have them traverse those kinds of worlds, it just really, really, you know, my imagination is going to all sorts of places. So I'm excited for the future.
Yes, so that is definitely some things that we can look forward to there. I am looking forward to them as well. You know, the possibilities are endless when we talk about the metaverse and what it can bring to us. And so we're going to add you back to the conversation, Tam. So what do you see for the future of the metaverse?
The future is like literally it's riddled with so much creativity and imagination and like change, and it is created by the people who are reluctant participants in the current verse that we're in, like, you know. And so we spend a lot of time
Those rug pulls today, man.
Yes.
Seeing them. But that's all right. You back? Okay, go ahead.
back. Okay, so like just like I said, the thoughts that would come from the people who are currently participating, and just looking around and thinking that this can be better. Like there has to be a better way, there has to be a new way. And so we've spent a lot of time, like, you know, geeking out and nerding out and being like, you know, creatives, and we've just spent a lot of time just observing and knowing that this could be better, and really thinking about new ways to interact, new ways to create businesses, new ways to create government. Like there's so many untapped possibilities for this metaverse, and it's really because with the more people that come in, the more people that begin to adopt it, this is where we're going to find the change. And there's somebody out there right now that hasn't that has that answer, that has that solution, that has that new thought, that just hasn't gotten here yet, and they're on the way. And so that's what really excites me, and that's what I see for the vision. Like, to be like specific, just change, and in a way that we've never experienced before.
Powerful, yes. Change, because, you know, for a lot of us, the world has not been kind. People have these biases and things in place that you know, we hope they are not bringing into this space. And so with that, I do want to go back to what you said, Charmaine, and that was that you were thinking about kind of what it looks like to regulate the metaverse, and the question is, do we need a police force on the metaverse? And so this, I'm harping on this for a reason. There was actually a tweet a couple of days ago where someone was showing VR chat, and they were showing they called it Metaverse Police Force. And while I do understand 100% that what I'm about to show you is what we call lollies, I'm a gamer, so let me be clear about that. It was a force of people that is not diverse, right? So first of all, in the metaverse, you have avatars. And so these are avatars. These are what we call lollies. If you are into gaming, if you've kind of been in comics or anything like that, you know what a lolly is. If not, please look it up. But when I look at this, I don't see a diverse squad. I see different hair colors, but I don't see a diverse police squad. And so what they were saying is that these are the individuals who kind of have created this club or group that go around and are policing VR chat. VR chat is a social experience in the Oculus Quest headset. And so my initial response to this was, whoa. So I'm not seeing a black or a brown face anywhere here. And I don't. This is not the original image. This was actually changed. So there is now at least one that looks like it could be light skinned. But that is not what was originally there. I did a thorough review of this before I posted. And since then, the images in the article have actually changed to kind of take away from this image specifically and highlight more onesie, twosie poses with folks. So first of all, there's that. Second of all, so the diversity is one thing. The other thing is do we need, kind of policing in the metaverse? Like, is that something that we actually want? So let's talk about that. And I will hold my comments for last. So when you look at that image, what do you see? And we're going to start with Corey.
First of all, in the very front row, there's somebody doing a dap, which is definitely, cultural appropriation, which seems to happen so much in this space where they want to appropriate, Black culture, but they don't want to actually have the diversity and inclusion there. So that's offensive for sure. The other thing is, do I think it needs policing? Initially, yes, and because humans. So as people get in, and especially I often say, because I have my granddaughter loves Roblox. My grandson loves Minecraft. She's 7 years old, and there's a couple of things that have happened in that space. Some interactions that are definitely very questionable in terms of grown folk and mingling with children underage. So and then recently, many of us may have seen in the news, maybe about a month ago, someone claiming to have been sexually abused in the Meta Horizons metaverse. So yes, there definitely needs to be some structure there, whatever it may look like, to control, enforce, and protect those who can't protect themselves from unfortunately there will be predators. How we do that and how that's going to look is something that we have to be very thoughtful about.
Yep, definitely agree with you. We are actually going to have a whole entire panel about that harassment scenario. So I want to defer to that panel for when we do that. We won't talk about that here today, but you bring up some great conversation. We are also going to have a panel about kind of parenting in the metaverse and what that looks like. So stay tuned on Futuristic Fridays for that. But, you bring up good concerns, right? So what do we need, and what level of that do we need, and how do we incorporate that with this idea of decentralization and kind of having everybody do their own thing? I will, kind of leave room to talk about, do we need separate metaverses for adults and kids? That's a real question. We'll dive in deep on that, but at a surface level, what does that look like? But first, let's finish up the conversation about kind of policing in the metaverse. And so, Charmaine, what do you think? What do you see when you see that image?
Yeah, it's the classic image that it doesn't consider all the groups that might want to use the metaverse. You could be in a wheelchair and be able to police the metaverse. You could be, all shapes and sizes, all colors. You could be male, female, non-binary, whatever. But it was very sort of regulated. So, I think there's lots of things that people need to think about now. before regulation comes in, so we could avoid sort of non-compliance penalties in the future. So anybody designing a metaverse, then they need to be thinking about, permissions that users could set up. So do you want users from other groups to be able to see your avatar? Do you want them to be able to interact with your avatar? Can you create a safe space around your avatar, like a 1 meter boundary, so that other avatars can't inappropriately touch your avatar or attack you? We could do things like AI tools to detect toxicity in speech if anybody's like giving you sort of verbal abuse. There's all sorts of things. And then the other thing that we have to think about is, how do we deal with people who do break the rules? So we could ban them from using the metaverse. We could liquidate their avatar. We could even like charge their wallet for a transaction as some sort of fine. So there's all sorts of ways we can encourage good behavior without having to police it as such.
It's like the idea of like the swear jar, right? So like you're acting up, we're going to charge you some crypto, and that's going to get automatically deducted, every single time you do it. I think that would potentially encourage some good behavior. We've had this conversation. We have really intricate conversations, really detailed conversations about kind of what the future of the metaverse can look like, and so we did actually broach the discussion, like what does it look like to have, do we need regulation? What does policing look like? And I think overwhelmingly from at least our groups, we didn't want the idea of jail in the metaverse. And so, as you were talking, I was thinking, for obvious reasons, right? Like that's a system that has not worked. But also because we've talked about this a little bit, but gamers are a special creature. We kind of enjoy stuff like that. So there's a segment of the population that would definitely try to get in jail. So it's it's a badge of honor. People talked about the harassment situation and what could happen if you step into somebody's boundaries. We do have the idea of a bubble. So, we hear that in traditional spaces anyway. This is my personal bubble. You're a little too close. Well, in the metaverse, you actually have one. So, in most platforms, there's this idea of like a shield that's around you that prevents somebody from coming into it. But what happens when you violate that? Maybe I have my shield off and you've done something that I'm not okay with. What can happen? You have options that you don't have in real life, right? So in real life, if I'm walking through a store and somebody reaches out and grabs my hand, I can't do anything about it. In the metaverse, I can stop you from doing it in the first place by having up my bubble. I can block you. I can hop or teleport away, and that's faster than me being able to walk or run. And I can also report you, to a platform. Now, when we get to the metaverse, if that's what you believe in, or in the interoperable metaverse, that might change, right? Like, so what does a entity look like? I don't know. And so it gets really interesting. But as you were talking, Charmaine, like what came to mind is I would love it if, you put out a racial slur or an ethnic slur, and I have the ability to mute you, but it's a different type of mute. So it's not just for me, but it's something that literally puts a zipper on your avatar's mouth and prevents you from talking for 5 minutes. Like that's enough to kind of deter these bad actions. And then if you get enough of them, it becomes like, you've seen Beetlejuice. I'm just going to refer to that movie, Beetlejuice, right? Like, so there's this point in time when they slap over this like steel thing around her mouth and she can't take it off and she's trying to get it off. I think that would be hilarious. So I think that there's, ways to do it where it's keeping in the theme of the metaverse. And of course, you're going to have what's appropriate depending on, if you've got a work or professional metaverse that you're working in, that'll be different than, something like a social environment, which is what we're talking about. So I'm gonna go to Yinka. Yinka, I saw you on mic. So, what is your idea of kind of an entity in the metaverse, and what did you think of that image?
You know, well, this is kind of like a difficult question, right? And it's a question that we're consistently talking about, not only in the metaverse, but in this ecosystem that we're building, because it's open for everyone. It's kind of like the Wild Wild West right now. And how do you regulate that, right? My biggest thing is to make sure that we don't construct the same things that we are used to, right? And bring it here. And basically, we're using this space to duplicate everything. I don't want that. I think self governance is very much important in this space. And when I say self governance, it means the whole ecosystem, the whole metaverse coming together and saying, you know, these are the things that we collectively do not like, right? And we're requesting those individuals who participate to abide by that. Because essentially, we're trying to create a better world, right? We're not trying to duplicate what, at least majority of us are not trying to duplicate what we're currently experiencing. We want to be able to tap into a world where we can go to anywhere in this world. We can do anything we want, you know, but we don't want to infringe on other people's rights or put limitation on others. So it's kind of hard. It is a difficult subject, and I think it's going to need a lot more discussion. Now, that image, you know, one thing that we as women, right, and then us as Black women realizes that representation matters. Like, in order for us to see ourselves in certain things, we need to be able to visually see it, right? And that signals welcome, right? It signals that they are welcoming us into the space. Honestly, when I saw HTC, I was kind of holding my breath, right, in their video, and then they showed a Black guy, but I was still thinking, where's the Black women, right? I'm always thinking, where is me? Where am I? Because I want to be represented. I want to be shown in this space because, you know, we're participating, we're involved. I want a world that says everyone is involved, and in order for us to really experience that, people have to consciously think about others. So, you know, that's why there's a need for more women to be involved. There's a definitely need for all nationalities to be involved because we are building essentially another world. And that other world has to be encompassing of everyone, right? That's in this world. Because in order for us to experience a true utopia, which I hope we do experience, you know, it's important for everyone to be involved and everyone to participate. And it's important for companies and platforms and projects to consciously think that and work towards that, and not just assume that, oh, you know, we're here, who we have is good, but we need to consciously work towards having that diversity.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to talk about kind of the metaverse for everyone in a second, but you bring up so many good points about diversity and inclusion. And, you know, I know, Charmaine, that's something that's very important to you as well as everybody else on this stage. We are always fighting for the right to be seen and heard and represented. And that, you know, the metaverse isn't different. It is different in that, you know, the form that we're going to take is a little different. So we'll talk about that here in a few minutes, but I want to wrap this up. So Tam, are you there? Can you tell us what you think of that image, if you were able to see it, and then also kind of your thoughts on things?
Yeah, I'm just gonna echo really exactly what Yinka and Charmaine just said about like this idea of there should be, like, you know, some type of self-governance. And I think when it comes to the metaverse, and I think that it can be achieved through, like, you know, kind of what Charmaine spoke about, which was the basically like incentives when you do things that you're supposed to be doing, like, you know, or and then if not, like, you know, there's maybe something that comes out of your wallet, like, right? I think that's a brilliant idea. Somehow we work that out, right? But then also to what Yinko's point is, which was like, you know, if you the thing about the metaverse to me is like, you know, it has so many different possibilities, right? So you don't have to participate in a world that's by a creator that's not going to implement something that is a system, right, that still allows for that freedom, but also allows for your protection, and like, you know, you have a way to govern yourself, but also, like, you know, if something were to happen, like they're not going to take you seriously, or they don't have any plans in place to address those things, right? So you're going to want to go to the metaverse that does support you in that way, right? You're going to want to participate. That's where you're going to want to put your assets towards, is that metaverse that does think of you. Like, you know, you're not an afterthought. Like, you know, you're not going to go back and change the color on the avatar to make these people now feel included, right? But this was like literally part of your plan going here because you saw the value and that's what you wanted in the first place. So people are going to gravitate towards the worlds that are that reflect how they want this new world to be. Like, and so I think that's a very so for to answer the question of, do I think there needs to be policing? No, I don't think that there needs to be policing in the metaverse. I think that by naturally, those of us who are you know, want to create those spaces that value, and not just value diversity and inclusion, but make active efforts to be diverse and inclusive, are going to benefit, and eventually, like, you know, that's where we will find our like people. All right, so I don't think there needs to be, I think it just needs to be self-governance and systems put in place by those who create the metaverses. And then as far as seeing the image, exactly what Yinka said. Like, I'm not trying to participate in the metaverse because I want it to be a duplication of what's going on right now. We can see this right now. It's not working, right? This right now is not okay. You know, in some shape, form, or fashion, like regardless to where you are in life, like this right now is just not working, you know? And so there has to be a better way. And so I would like to see something different. And that's all I got to say. I want to see it different, and we can do that. So why not? And I'm Tam. I'm done.
Yeah, thank you, Tam. You know, all great points, and very valid. We are not intending to replicate. You know, at least some of us anyway, are not trying to replicate what we already have, because it didn't work. And that, you know, this is an opportunity for those of us who it didn't work for, to get it right. To make it the way that we want it. And you're right, everyone will have kind of that space in their choice or chosen world that they operate in. We see that actually in AltSpace. AltSpace is kind of the one space where it's like it has flavor. You know, people, and part of that is because Artsy built out quite a bit of it. But the other part of it is that you know, we're there. And so where our people are is where we want to be. Now, I said I would hold off on what my complete thoughts were on the image. And so when I wrote it, I know full well what a lolly is. I know where lollies stem from, and I know what the culture is behind that. It is anime. And so it is interesting to me that, at least in the image we were shown, in the images, all of them, we were shown that there were no different characters there. And so what I mean by that is this took place in VR chat. And so to understand that, you kind of need to understand VR chat. In VR chat, you know, yes, you have kind of sets of people who kind of put on the same thing, but there's always a differentiation between them. There's always, you know, I could be a shrimp, or you could be like a sponge, you know what I mean? Like, you can do whatever you want to. And so it's very rare that this many people are looking the same way, feeling the same way, and representing the same way, which means that it was planned. And so my point in saying that is, if you planned a photo op, you could have planned some inclusivity in that photo op. And so I didn't say those words. And so, I mean, I got all sorts of feedback. You know, this is gamer talk. You're an idiot. You don't understand. No, I've been there. I understand. I get it. But what I'm saying is, where's my black lolly? Do we not exist? At least one of those characters underneath there, I'm hoping, was a sister or two, or a brother or three, you know what I mean? Like somebody there. Where are my Hispanic folks? Where are the Spanish folks? Where are
like
we?
Cats and stuff, can't they? Like, they can be like, you can be just a cat. Like,
you can be a dog or a squid. I'm telling you. I don't see that. Everybody's a
It was a
lolly.
cat or a dog, right?
Yeah, everybody's a lolly. And it's like, okay, well, that means you planned this. And so, yeah, you could have done something. So I stand by what I said and I'm not mad at it. But, you know, it was definitely interesting to see that instead of saying, yeah, let's, you know, talk about that, the instant was, oh, you don't understand. Well, if I'm telling you you've impacted me in a way, and I'm telling you that as somebody in that group of people that is not represented, we are telling you that this looks this way, then the least you could do is consider the option, right? At least you could do is consider that, hey, maybe that was something we could have done differently. But that's not how this thread played out. And so I think that it's interesting, because yes, I do understand. So it hurt my feelings as a gamer that, you know, I feel like I'm old now and people are like, you don't get it. No, I do. I'm just saying, like, there's a better way. So that brings me to the next thing. So two things really. One is the idea of kids and parents in the metaverse in the exact same world, right? Like, we have that now. Kids are definitely in our world now. But what does that, why is that a thing, is my question. So I'll ask it differently for the panel. But for me, it's why is that a thing? And then also adding to that, how do we set aside our culture and ethnicity in the metaverse when you can be a cat and a dog and you know, kind of a pigeon if you wanted to? Like, how do we define culture in the metaverse? So those are the two topics. It's going to be open mic. Go for it.
Wow. As a mom, that's a deep question, right? I'm coming from the standpoint of, well, in this world, we have kids, right? The kids are in our world. You know, we don't have places for our kids, right? I mean, to some degree, we can create, you know, spaces for our kids, but I think there are some places, just like in the physical world, where, you know, young kids should not be, right? I think similar situations should happen in the metaverse. Whether there should be like an adult, like a whole adult metaverse versus the kids version of the metaverse, that's left for discussion, right? I think the metaverses that I've been in, I think they've been great. Like, they've been intergenerational, right? So it's hard for me to imagine that, you know, there's, well, okay, let me, the more I think about it, let me just stop there. You know, the kids have their own metaverse. They have Roblox, right? So they're experiencing that. And then adults have alt space, even though we do find some kids in alt space as well. But then there's like certain segments of alt space, which is a centralized version of a metaverse where it's adults only, right? So I guess there is a need to segment those two groups. But at the same time, there's also a need to have that community, right? Because kids are part of our community. So I guess there's going to be, well, the good thing is there's going to be various versions of the metaverse. So we're going to have, you know, kids only, adult only, and like community feel, I guess.
So a couple things. So, you know, just starting with the last one is there's going to be, you know, kind of this interconnectivity and community. There are two different kind of feels for what the metaverse can be. So some folks say there's the metaverse, and that is the interconnected metaverse where you can just jump from like Roblox to Decentraland if you want to. And then there is the idea that, you know, kind of everyone will have a metaverse and there will be all these different metaverses, which is what we have now, right? So it's not interconnected now. So when we're talking about kids, I think that we have a great example of that. So like I said, we kind of go into these different metaverse experiences in my club, Blackverse, and one of those is a space called Infiniverse. And so Infiniverse is built up around the idea of virtual real estate and apartments, and they're building community now, which is cool. But When you're there, 90% of the community is adults. And then you have these 10% of kids that are in there. And it seems like there's 10%, there's maybe more. But they are like the thing about it is that in these types of open worlds, like you have open world chat too. So just like in gaming, you have open world typing chat, in the metaverse or in the ones that are being built now, you have open world chat. So you can hear everything. And yeah, you can silence that out a little bit, but you can hear everyone talking. And so you hear these tiny little voices followed by what the F, this price just, increased by blah, 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 blah. Or you're going into zombie town, and when you're going to kill zombies, it's just kind of this random group of people who you're going with, and 5 of them are kids, and you can't drop the F-bomb you want to because you just got killed by a zombie because the kids are there. So there, some of them ruin the experience for adults. Like if you're trying to have date night or something like that, it's kind of hard to negotiate when there's like literally what sound like 7 or 8 year olds in the space. So, there's definitely instances of it. And you mentioned alt space. I think that something that keeps out kids from alt space is the fact that Microsoft owns alt space. And to get in there, you actually have to have a Microsoft ID. So what kids do you know that are going out setting up their Microsoft IDs? They're not. In Roblox, your parents are setting up that account for you, or maybe you might do it yourself once you actually get your device. But I think that that's something to consider. And also, legally speaking, the age of internet acceptability is 13. So you can be acting and maneuvering on the internet when you're 13 years old. But we're seeing instances, and we see that, in spaces like Roblox too, where the kids are actually in their adult headsets. So I'm going to keep it open to conversation. I just wanted to tap in some flavor to the conversation too, some more things to think about.
I
Yeah,
remember an instance in which I was talking about my granddaughter in Roblox, and I'm hoping that this was some older children and not adults, but she had an apple tree and it was chopped down by some, I'm gonna say, older kids. And she literally came into the living room in real tears, as if this had happened, something terrible had happened in real life. But that's just how seriously, like, a lot of the kids take. So I can only imagine, we again have to be really, really thoughtful in terms of how the spaces are navigated. And that's why the conversation and the builders of the metaverse have to be diverse. We have to have women, we have to have parents, people with kids, building and being the architects of what the metaverse looks like. Those things need to be considered, because if that experience was somewhat traumatizing, I hate to imagine, and the reality is there are predators. They exist. So, having conversations about how we keep our children safe are conversations we absolutely have to have.
Absolutely. I can agree with that. And I think that is also just kind of points back to the conversation about, like, the policing, and kind of how I feel about how there just has to be certain controls that are put in place, and as well as rewards for that incentivize the behaviors that you want to see. And I think that there's so many different ways we can think about how we do that. But it's gonna take just everybody coming together, like you said, the moms, the fathers, the business people. Like, we have to come together and create these solutions.
Yeah, it reminds me, we've got a situation coming up next month with Walker, and there's going to be an NFT exhibition called Graffiti Queens, and it's going to be showing the NFTs of over 200 women, right? And that's amazing. And they'll be seen worldwide in Cryptovoxels, Decentralized, Somnium Space, Sandbox, and physical galleries. And some of the women said, could we open it up to our daughters? So could it be women and girls? And I thought, that's an amazing idea. Yes, let's do that. So it's like a female exhibition, not just women. But then a lot of the women's art that I see is not suitable for work, which is fine in an adult metaverse scenario when, naked women, whatever. But if you're going to have kids' art displayed side by side, you can't take your kid into the metaverse and say, well, here's your piece of art, dear, but oh, don't look at that bit beside it. So we've had to find a way to sort of flag, oh, this piece of art is submitted by a child. So maybe just have one gallery that's got all the children's art in it, and then all the sort of very adult art could be in a separate place. But it's, you want to try and be inclusive to everyone, but while still protecting children. It is challenging.
Yeah, for sure. And then protection of kids, that's a whole other topic we're going to dive all the way into during one of the upcoming sessions. That is parenting in the metaverse. We're going to talk a whole lot more about kids. So this was just a little snippet of what you're going to get there. We have a comment from our chat. Horizons is overrun with a lot of disrespectful and obnoxious children. It's supposed to be 18 plus. Is there really a way to control that with children using their parents' headsets? And so my response is absolutely not. There's no way to control it because they are using their parents' headsets. So unless those parents are taking the appropriate precautions and steps with those kids, you're finding that a lot of parents are sharing headsets with their children. And, it's just like how, like I'm not going to say this. My sister likes to give my niece her iPad and just let her kind of play on it. People are doing that with the VR headset too. So there's a lot of things to consider when they're doing that. One is that child's health and well-being in that headset. The second is, that's a whole probably 4 hours worth of conversation there or more. But there's also, kind of what are they doing? What are they seeing? What are they experiencing? One of my initial things that I did with my niece, I have let her use my headset, and she is 6. But when she's in it, first of all, I'm watching her. I'm making sure that her body is reacting appropriately and that she's not being impacted by too much strain or input into her little delicate self. And then also making sure that that I'm seeing what she's seeing. So I know what's on screen in front of her. But when you think about something like Infiniverse, you can't really stop something. So if something comes up, if somebody were to come up and maybe there was, freeform avatar creation in this space and that avatar was inappropriate, I could not stop my kid from seeing that or my niece from seeing that. So there are things to consider, and then you never know. So you have this idea of a friends list, right? So just like in social media, you've got followers, in the metaverse, you have friends. And so those friends can see when you're online, you can have conversations with them, you can chat, text, do whatever, you can ping them. You can just simply hop over to someone's space or location in some of these places also. And so the idea of privacy is a little different. So we talk about privacy on the blockchain, and in most cases, that's digital things, not ourselves. So what about privacy when it comes to your avatar? How do you protect your avatar from being impacted by some of these things that it might be exposed to? Do we consider it a thing? Is it your avatar? Is it the avatar? Like, those are all concepts we're going to dive into. But right now, guys, I want to say thank you because we are at time. It is time to wrap up this conversation. So I want to go around and just get kind of closing thoughts from everybody on the metaverse and what you're hoping for as we head towards our end for the day. And we'll start with you, Tam.
Yeah, so my end thoughts is just always like, it is so important to begin to educate ourselves. And I just like to speak to anybody that might be like me. You're not you're not a techie, like, whatever, you're just learning this and you're interested. Continue to educate yourself so that you can start to think about these questions that we're going over through
That rug is real,
No.
man. All right, Tam, we're going to come back to you for that very last snippet. Charmaine, close us out with what are your thoughts for the future of the metaverse that you want to leave with the stage for today? And we're going to have you back in a couple of weeks to be on some of those panels that are upcoming too.
Okay, yeah, so blockchain technology can transform our digital world into the new and improved internet. But for the metaverse to thrive, it's essential that we all have to get along with each other. So the time is now to create a well-designed, inclusive and accessible metaverse where people and community well-being is a priority and everyone feels welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Charmaine. Thank you for being here. Corey, what are your words for this final session today as we head into the future of the metaverse?
Well, as I often say about Web3, don't expect a utopia, but what we can create is an oasis or oases where we can, have the kinds of diversified and inclusive world that we all want to see. And I definitely want, if you're a person of color listening to this, in particular, a woman listening to this, and you can dive in and find your niche, fit in wherever you could get in. There's definitely room at the table for you. We need you to be in there as a builder and an architect of this space.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And very, very true. We heard that firsthand last week. There's space for you. There are means for you to actually get in here and maneuver and thrive in the metaverse. So, Yinka, what are your thoughts for the end of today?
Yeah, prior to today, I was actually thinking of how sad it is that we live in this world. There's several different countries, several different experiences in the physical world for us to experience, but oftentimes we only segregate ourselves to what's familiar. And one thing that I want to do is be able to experience all of these countries, all of the richness of each landscape, right? All over the globe. And I think the metaverse will definitely give all of us that ability to experience that. And so I'm looking for that type of world. I'm also looking for diversification because, as I mentioned, and as we're been discussing this entire few days in the month, we need representation. Representation matters. It's important. And if we're really going to build that utopia, it's important for us to include and be inclusive of everyone that's out there and get input. Because in order to build a viable product or a viable metaverse, it's important to tap into all kinds of different mindset, different cultures, different background, etc. And everyone should be welcome in building this new space that we're venturing into.
For sure. I definitely agree. I want to really quickly just kind of close out my thoughts with what we started with, kind of diversity and inclusion. We have work to do. That is my theme for the year. We have work to do in 2022. And I showed you one image earlier. I'm going to show you a different one now. And we are all about diversity and inclusion. There are projects like this one. There are projects which is Tribe X. There are projects out here by, some really talented artists that you never see and you never hear from. So please take an opportunity to just highlight, share, and share, and participate in some of the NFT projects that are going on. Be inclusive and deliberate about how you move forward with thinking about the metaverse and a metaverse and the potential that we all have to be fully inclusive and fully diversified as we head into the metaverse, whether you are going to be a shrimp or a piece of fruit or your favorite dog or cat. It is important that you have a meta mind shift and understand that there is a metaverse experience for you that is not only decentralized, but welcoming to who you are and who you can be. This is NiKole, and my voice is resting. On behalf of International Women of Blockchain, thank you for participating in Futuristic Fridays. We'll see you tomorrow with Super Sponsor Saturdays. So please be sure to tap into our sponsors. We are sponsored by Block and Hero. Please stay connected and tap in with them. Jump into our Discord. We appreciate all of you who are watching today, and we look forward to hanging out with you. And don't forget to tap back in next week for Futuristic Fridays in the Metaverse. Thank you.